Join me as I budget my £3,000 a month salary for the month of March. In this video, I'm going to go into detail on exactly how I break up my salary, where my salary comes from, how much extra money I earn from side hustles, and where it gets split across my finance system every month. I'm going to take you through how much money I spend on my bills, how much money goes into investments, how much money I'm putting towards an emergency fund, and any other financial goals that I have so that you can see exactly how I split my money up. Hopefully by the end of this video, you'll also have some tips for yourself that you can also take away and you can apply to your own system and your own budget to help manage your money as efficiently as possible. But without delaying any further, let's get into it. Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Lewis and here we talk about everything to do with personal finance, growing your money and finance education. And as mentioned at the start, today's video is going to be my budgeting video for the month of March. I do these videos every single month, breaking down in detail where my money goes, where it comes from first of all, and then where it goes and what I spend it on, so that you can see exactly how I budget and hopefully take some tips from that for yourself to apply it to your own budgeting system. Before we jump into the budget and I put my budget up on the screen, I actually just wanted to say a huge thank you to everyone that watched last month's budgeting video. That video went far further and crazier than I expected it to, especially as such an early stage on my channel. So yeah, thank you for everyone that watched it, engaged with it, shared it, subscribed to the channel. It really means a lot, so thank you very much, and hopefully I'll keep building on these videos and I'll keep doing them every month so that you can continue to learn how I'm splitting up my money and hopefully apply some of those techniques to your own money. But yeah, just a huge thank you to everybody. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick my budget spreadsheet up on the screen. I'll do a quick talk through it for anyone that's not seen it before if you're new here, and then we'll get stuck into exactly how I budget my salary for the month. So let's get stuck in now. Okay, so you've now got the smaller version of me up in the corner as I've popped my budget spreadsheet up on the screen for you to have a look at. So for those of you that have seen my budgeting videos before, you'll be familiar with this budget spreadsheet and everything that's in here. But just in case you're new to the channel and this is your first time seeing one of my budget videos, just a quick overview of exactly what this spreadsheet does. This is effectively, I run all of my finances out of this spreadsheet every single month, and every month I come in here and I do some amends and I update all of my spends and incomings and outgoings, etc. For the month so that I can understand exactly where I am with my finances. So two real tabs that we're going to focus on today. So just looking at the tab section down the bottom here, you've got the budget overview, which is the tab we're on here, and then the monthly budget tracker, which is the budget spreadsheet where I input all of my incomings and outgoings for the month. So just very quickly, this budget overview tab here, it's kind of looks semi-empty at the moment because we need to put the information in on the monthly budget tracker. But in effect, this tracks all of my expenditure, so the money I've got coming in, the money I have going out that's spent on bills, any debt payments I have, monthly savings and investments, and then any personal allowance I allocate to myself to spend on things I want, and then it will tell me how much money I've got left to allocate. Those 6 tabs are also on the monthly budget tracker, so you'll see those shortly when we change over tab. And then just down here, we've got also a pie chart, which currently doesn't have the information in, but when we come back at the end of the video, you'll see that gets split out based on all of the categories above where my money is being spent. So what percentage of my income is going on bills, etc., etc. And then we've also got my debt tracker. So this allows me to keep track of how my debt's doing and how much I've still got left to pay off. You can see the 2 cells below. There's a little pot there of how much money I've still got outstanding in debt and how much money I still need to, how much money I have already paid off from my debts as well. So that's kind of the budget overview tab, but we're not going to spend too much time on that one today because the main place we're going to spend time is this tab here. So this is the monthly budget tracker. So as you can see at the top here, we've got those same 6 cells that I mentioned on the first spreadsheet. So they just pull through on both tabs. They're exactly the same as each other. So it just brings together how much money I've got coming in, those bills, debt payments, savings and investments, personal allowance, and then how much money I've got left to allocate. And then down here, you'll see there is a series of boxes, starting with the monthly net total income one here on this side, going further down, that you can see are all of the things that kind of pots that I've allocated that I spend my money on for each month, and then all of those things pull together to bring me in the totals back up the top here into their respective categories, so I can see exactly how my money's looking each month. So that's kind of the overview of how it works, but let's actually get stuck into inputting some numbers into this spreadsheet. And for anyone that's new here, when I come into this spreadsheet every month, I do a bit of pre-work where I allocate all of the money that I know I'm going to need to spend, so that when we're come around to filming this video, I'm just talking you through what each of those lines are, and then inputting the amount I need to budget for each of those areas to cover the payments that I know I've got coming up. So that's why you'll see some numbers inputted in here. Also, a lot of these numbers don't really change that much on a monthly basis, so I just leave them populated from the previous month. So let's start with my monthly net total income. For anyone, again, if you're new here, if you've seen this video before, then you'll know that I have a couple of options for income stream for myself every month. My main income comes from my salary, which you'll see at the top here, which has actually increased ever so slightly in the last month or so, just because I had an inflationary increase on my salary. But my salary comes in at £3,131 a month now, with that increase included. So for anyone that's kind of quick at maths, knows that I'm earning just over £50,000 a year. I work in marketing in London, so a London-based salary. So that's what my monthly income is from my salary, which is £3,131. And then here underneath, you've got a selection of possible other income streams that I have going on. Not all of them are live for me at the moment, so we're not going to look today at Fiverr, Etsy and Rover, because they're channels that I've kind of let lapse just for the moment, because I've got quite a few bits going on, and obviously getting this YouTube channel up and running, some of the finance bits that I'm working on, I've let those areas lapse just for the moment while I prioritize some of the other bits. So the other main income stream I have, and I say main, it's a very small income stream for me, but is Airtasker. For anyone that hasn't used Airtasker before, it's effectively a platform that allows you to buy and sell services that you may be able to offer someone to basically enable them to get out of a situation that they find themselves in. So a good example for me is that I build a lot of flat pack furniture. I do a lot of gardening for people, because they're jobs that people generally don't like doing. They take time. So that's where I come in, where I, through Airtasker, select that I'm available to do those. I keep an eye out for jobs that relate to those that type of work, and then I submit an offer, and then if that offer is suitable for the client, they accept it, and I go and do that piece of work. So it's a really simple way of just earning some extra money. They do take fees out of the work that you do, but in principle, it's a good way of earning some extra money. I only did one Airtasker job in February, had quite a lot of things going on, and I take the money I earned from the previous month into the new month for Airtasker. So when I earn it, I don't put it straight into my budget. I keep it sat in a separate account, and then I move it across at the start of the month. I only did one job, and that got me £38 for what was less than an hour's work. So just that one job that I did. And then the only other area that we've got income coming in from is actually money that I had left from the previous month. So you'll see at the top here, I have a left to allocate number that sits up there. That is effectively there so that at the end of every month, ideally, I have a small amount of money left over, and then that money I cycle on to the next month. So I know that I had £198 left over in my bank account at the end of last month, which gives me a total income for the month of March of £3,367.44, which you can see at the bottom there. And then also you can see that has pulled through up into that monthly net total income line at the top as well. So that's all the income bits sorted. So now we're going to move on to the outgoings, and the place where I always start is everybody's least favourite place is the bills for the month. So I've just highlighted the bills column for you there, and yeah, just in going into detail, not too much detail, but just a kind of surface level detail of what bills I have going on each month. So my wife and I have a joint bills account where not all of our bills, but most of our bills come out of. So that's the first payment that I make every month, which is £845. And what that consists of is predominantly, I should say, our mortgage payment, which is about £640 of that roughly. That's going into mortgage payment. There's also payment that goes in there for our water bill that comes out every month, and a couple of other insurance-based pieces like life insurance, etc. That's what comes out every month. So I know that I need to transfer £845 across to her into a joint bills account. She transfers the same amount, and then that money just comes straight out of that account for us. £61.78 there for our gas and electric every month. That's a point that was made in a previous video, which it's good to bring up at this point actually, is that all of these costs that you see in here that aren't in the joint account bills number at the top. All these numbers down here, they're all 50% of the total of what that bill is, because I share those bills with my wife. So when I'm transferring £61 in for the gas and electric, that also means she's doing the same. So that means our gas and electric bill is £122 a month, which is spot on. So that's the gas and electric. Wi-Fi is £14.36, so £28, just over £28.50 total for our contract for the month. Phone, that is my personal phone, so it's only me that pays that, which is my mobile bill at £35. TV license, we both put in £8 a month. TV license works out £170 something pounds a year. So we save up for the TV license every year to make sure we can pay that up front when it comes in. We put £20 a month also into our bills account, but as a separate payment, just as a slush fund. So that's there to serve in case anything dramatic comes up with our house that all of a sudden we need to pay. So as an example I used in the previous video was we needed to have the windows cleaned. So the window cleaner came, we have the money in the account to be able to pay that. So we just put a little bit of safety money in every month. And then finally our road fees, which from a couple of videos ago, for anyone that saw, we pay a maintenance fee effectively for the road that we live in, which comes to about £450 a year. We have not traditionally saved for that and then had to find the money for that every time it comes around, every December, which is a terrible time for that bill to land. So we're now both planning in advance for that. So we're saving £20 a month each for our road fee, so that when they come up in December, we're able to pay them off and we've got that money ready to go. So that's all of the bills for the month, and as you can see, that comes to £1,004 at the bottom there. So to make this spreadsheet work efficiently, what we need to do is square that money off. So at the moment it's red, and that means because there's a money in the total column, but there's nothing in the budget column. I know I'm going to need £1,004, so in the budget column I put that same amount of £1,004.14, and I hit enter, and as you can see the colour changes, it goes back to white, and then that £1,004 pulls into the monthly bill section at the top here. So that's how this spreadsheet works, and then as we go through and fill the rest of these boxes in, those numbers will pull up into the top section. So that's just a quick overview on how the formatting works. Over into my subscriptions and repeat payments. We've got a few over here that we pay for every single month. There's a few that me and my wife don't split all of these 50-50. There's a few that I pay for, there's a few that she pays for, and then combined there are subscriptions for the month. So I pay for Netflix, which you can see is a £5 charge there. Amazon is £12. I have a direct debit that goes into a junior ISA that was been set up for my niece, who I was very lucky to become an uncle last year. So she has a junior ISA. I just transfer a small amount of money into that every month. So there's £10 going in there. I use the app Runner, which is a running app to help me train for running distances that I want to do, which I do on the side. So I pay that as a yearly fee, and then I save up the money throughout the year. So £9 again there. Sometimes every now and then I have an Apple subscription that comes up for extra storage on iCloud. Although at the moment I've got a gift card on my account, so I know that the gift card is paying for that storage amount every month. So therefore the Apple cost is £0 currently. I save some money automatically into some of my savings pots for things that I know I'm going to need to spend money on in the future. So I've got a savings pot set up for both Christmas and my wife's birthday, and I'm transferring money into that every month. So that's what that money is there. And then for anyone that doesn't know or hasn't heard in my other videos previously, I love my sport. I really enjoy watching sport, particularly football. So I pay for access to as many of the kind of locations and houses for football that there is. Discovery Plus is one of those. So I pay £30 a month for access to Discovery Plus. So in total, that comes to £106 down there for the money needed for subscriptions. So I'll put that in there, and then that squares that number off. Going down to food, this is a nice easy one. So we have in the food column here, as you can see, which I'll highlight for you, in this food section here, we do a weekly shop. Every single week we have a budget of £80 a week that we spend on our weekly shop. So every month at the start of the month, we just tot up how many shops we're going to need to do for the month to work out how much money we're going to spend on food. So we know for this month that we're going to need to spend £160 each. So it's £40 each, £80 a week, £40 each a week. We know there's going to be 4 shops in the month. So that comes to £160. So really straightforward month for us there on the shopping. We also have an emergency fund at the bottom. It's an extra £20 each in our budgets, just in case anything comes up unexpected that we need to purchase food for. And then finally, I have a £40 budget for food for lunches when I go into the office at work. I go in a couple of days a week. Sometimes I take leftover food, sometimes I need to buy lunch. So there's a budget in there for that. So all of those things in total, as you can see, come to £220. So we put that in at the bottom as well, and that squares that off. Moving on to our insurances, these all largely do what they say on the tin. So we've got an insurance policy for our cat at the moment, is due for renewal this month actually, so we might see a change in that cost when I do this video for April, but the last payment for this month is £8.50 for the cat insurance. Home insurance, again, that's due in April, so not far away, due coming up for that as well. So I know that that's currently £25 a month that goes out for our home insurance. There's then £120 a month that I allocate, and this month number varies depending on how much I know I'm going to be travelling, things I'm doing in the month, travelling to and from work. But I think roughly I'm going to need £120 this month for fuel, which is £30 a week, which normally roughly covers me for the amount of travelling I need to do. There's then the DVLA tax on my car, which I pay on a monthly basis. Any train fees that I need, though, if I need to train travel anywhere, and as far as I'm aware, I only need to travel one journey that I need to make this month on train. So that is going to cost me about £20 for a return ticket. So I've popped that and budgeted for that in there. And then there's a one-off payment at the bottom here, which won't feature on any other months, but just for my car insurance. My car insurance is always due in March. I had a goal set up through an app called Chip, which I'll come onto in the savings section, saving for my car insurance. It hasn't quite got me all the way to the amount that my renewal premium is going to be. So I just need to top that money up just to pay for that last little bit. So I put £50 in there for my car insurance, but that will only be a one-off payment that I won't actually make again for the rest of the year, because I pay my car insurance in full. Over to our pet section. So if anyone that's watched these videos previously knows that we have a cat who we adopted about 18 months ago now, who loves his life here, hopefully. But there's a few little bits and pieces that we have to pay for, as expected, for him every single month. So there's a couple of food bits. So I know that his dry food, we're going to need his dry food this month. So we've got that set up on a subscribe and save from Amazon. But I know that cost will come out this month. So there's £9 there. We don't need any more for his litter this month or some of his other food bits because we've got enough. However, he does also take a little probiotic tablet with his food. We will run out of those this month, so I know that we're going to need to buy those as well. So allocate for those. That comes to £19 in total, so we just stick £19 in there, and that squares that amount off as well. So that's that one all sorted. And then if we go down here to the next one, we've got the debt payments. So everything that it's been before all feeds into the bills section of that very top section on the spreadsheet that I highlighted. All of those numbers that we've just input there feed into that bills number. So that will give a total bills number, which we'll go back and look at shortly when we scroll back up to the top. But now we move on to some of one of the most important things that I have to do every month, and then one of the most exciting and opportunistic things that I do every single month as well. So first of all, starting with the negative, so to speak, area is debt payments. So these are debt payments that I need to make to pay down that debt that I mentioned was on the budget overview tab. So in here, you can see what those debt payments kind of equate to. So starting at the top, I have a loan, effectively some money I borrowed from my wife to pay off a loan that I had on the car that I drive. We decided that because the interest rate on the loan was significantly higher, because it was taken out in quite an area of high interest, the loan that I was paying back was quite expensive. So we made the decision that it was better off for us to use some cash that she had to be able to pay off that loan, and then I'm paying her back that money over time. I don't have too much, just over £1,000 left to pay off on that loan, and I'm chipping away at it slowly. I will be able to increase that amount soon because I've cleared a lot of the debt that I had previously from other areas of our lives. So soon I'll be able to ramp that up and get that paid off, and then that will be the big part, and most of my debt all sorted at that point. The other payment I had to make just is on a monthly credit card that I have, which is my nationwide credit card. So it was just something that I knew I needed to purchase for the month of March, but the cost came up just slightly earlier in February, so I popped it onto my credit card and then I'm paying for it out of this budget. So that was £42 that you can see there. And then again, I've mentioned it on previous videos, but for anyone that doesn't know, I'm a particularly avid Pokemon collector, so I collect cards, I collect sealed products, various other bits and pieces to do with Pokemon. So there's a couple of bits that I'd actually pre-ordered that I knew I was going to need to pay for this month. So there's a cost also allocated there for those things that I like to buy. So that goes into my debt payments because I know that cost I'm already committed to it and it's coming up this month. So in total, that leaves my debt at £341.19. So I pop that number in there, and then that squares that off. For anyone that's been watching these videos for the last couple of months knows we've been paying for a holiday to Scotland in July. Delighted to say that we'd finished paying that off last month. So that's a line that's actually been removed from this spreadsheet that we don't need to pay for anymore. So our holiday is now all paid for in July, which is really exciting. And then the last thing that I wanted to cover from an outgoings perspective in terms of things that I'm sort of long-term committed to doing, this is the more exciting one, is my investments and savings. So this is money that I'm putting into creating a safety net for myself, growing my money for myself to hopefully reach the long-term goal of being able to retire early, because that is my long-term goal and why I'm doing all of this. That's a personal choice, something that I would really like to do, to be able to pursue other hobbies in a time when work is not eating up lots of my time. I still want to be able to do that as early in life as possible. So got some goals that are set up to hopefully help me try and achieve that. If you want to hear more about my early retirement goals and how I'm building my wealth and moving towards those, I recommend watching my savings and investments for the month of March video, which will come out shortly after this video. And that will go into more detail on where the money that's in this investments and savings section goes to, what it's being put towards, what my long-term goals are, and how I'm building my wealth to get to those long-term goals. So that will be a video that follows on from this one. If you want to check out February's, I'll link it down in the description below. Do go and check that out, because that's the most up-to-date currently on where I'm at for my investments and savings and moving towards early retirement. So as I say, I'll link that down in the description. But in terms of the month of March, this is what I've got going on for investments and savings. So I have a stocks and shares ISA with Trading 212 that I put £150 a month into every single month, and that is invested in largely in a global all-world fund that captures kind of the global stock market, thousands of companies from across the global stock market. I put my money into that with the aim of that contributing towards my early retirement. So at the moment I'm putting £150 a month into that. I've got a line for Chip, which is an app I mentioned previously. Chip automatically takes money out of your bank account based on your average spend. So it kind of works out when it thinks it can take an extra £10 or an extra £15 out of your account to put towards savings goals that you have. They've recently changed their goals feature, and if I'm being honest, some of you may use Chip watching this video, but I've been slightly disappointed with its functionality recently, so I'm actually going to stop using it after completing my next goal, which is my car insurance, which I mentioned previously. So that's the last goal I've got in there at the moment, and then I'm actually just going to manage my goals myself through this spreadsheet rather than using that app to do it for me. I've got a pots and savings goals tab down here, which I'll touch on very briefly at the end, but that's what that basically is contributing to. But this will probably be the last month that Chip stays in here. Normally it takes between £80 and £120 a month depending on what my spending is, so I take the average number, assume it's going to take 100, and then I can just stop it taking any more than £100 at any time. So that's how much I've got allocated to that. And then again, if you've watched my videos previously, one of my big goals is building a suitable emergency fund for myself. I've always had cash savings, but never really enough to probably get me out of trouble if I were to lose my job tomorrow, for example, and my income were to stop. I probably never had enough. So I'm working at the moment really hard on building my emergency fund with the goal this year of getting to £7,000. Again, if you want to see the full detail on how I'm doing towards that, then watch that savings and investments video that will follow this video in a few days' time. But in short, I'm well on track to achieve that goal and have £7,000 saved up for an emergency fund, another £500 going into that this month. So well on track there. So all I need to do is square those savings off with £750 at the bottom. And then the last section for this, for the breakdown of this video, is just the personal allowance. So the money that I actually spend on myself to do the things that I want to do. All that other stuff in there is bills or long-term future or paying down debt that I know I need to do. But this last column, this last table, is the money that I spend on myself on the things that I want to do. So I know there's a few things, and I've put the prices for them in here. I've just deleted the lines next to them because I'll fill those in due course, but just some numbers that I know that I'm going to need to spend some money on this month, a few different things that I've got going on. So I know already that it's coming to £243 of personal expenditure that I know I need to make or want to make this month, but I always give myself a budget every month of £450. So that's the number I'll put in there. As you can see, it turns it green then to say that I'm underspent, which still tells me that I know I've got £207 to spend on other things this month that I may want. So whether we decide to go out for dinner one night, or we want to get a takeaway, or various other things that could come up, we want to go and do some activities, or there's something I want to put towards one of my hobbies, that's what that money is there for. That's what that whole section is there, because the whole point of doing all of this is being able to also enable you to spend and get good at spending money on yourself. So by giving myself an allocation, I know that I can safely spend that money without having to worry about it in my financial system. So that's the allocation I give myself for the month. There'll be a few other costs that come in through the month that will ultimately end up, and I always try to make sure I spend that money without wasting it, of course, but I try and make sure I spend it because it's really important to get into not just the habit of saving lots of money, but also the habit of spending it, because otherwise when I come to retire, I won't feel confident and comfortable spending that money. So I'm also practicing spending money as well as saving money at the moment. So that overall is pretty much a summary of my budget spreadsheet, and they're all the numbers that get inputted into the different areas of the spreadsheet that effectively bring together my finances for the month. So now when I scroll up, all of the areas that we spoke about at the top will now be auto-populated from these numbers we've put in, and it will tell me where I'm at from a financial perspective and if I've got any money left to allocate. So if we scroll up now and have a look at the top, you can see here that my monthly net total income, which was 336744, which exactly matches that number down there in the monthly net total income. So then we can go across and we can see how much money I'm spending on bills, which you can see is 158864. So that's roughly the number that I need to use to work out how much money I need in my emergency fund, which I'll cover in that more in that savings and investments video. But that's a good example of my core monthly expenditure that I know I need to make every single month. So there's 1588 in that column there. We then got my debt payments, which total £341.19p, my savings and investments 750, my personal allowance that we've just spoken about, which was 450, and that means that I've got £237.61 left over, which is a really comfortable amount of money to have left in my account at the end of the month. I'm really happy with that. I normally try and keep somewhere between £150 and £200 in that left to allocate section, just to make sure I've got some money free should I need it for an emergency that's not covered by my emergency fund, or things like that, that anything that I've forgotten to allocate for in my budget. That's what that money is there for. I'd actually say that money is slightly too high, so probably after this video I'll have a little draft through, and I'll just see if there's anywhere that I think I should allocate maybe £50 of that money extra to help me kind of keep building some of my long-term wealth stuff. So if I do that, I'll make sure I drop a comment down below just to say that change I made, so that you can know where that money went if I've decided to. But at the moment I'm happy with that £237 left over in that section there. So that really is an overview of how my monthly budget tracker works, where all my money goes, how it gets allocated. The only real thing left to do, two things, is to go back to the budget overview tab, and then you can see on here that all of the same numbers have pulled through. So those top 6 blocks there have all updated accordingly for the same amount of money that was on the monthly budget tracker. The breakdowns pie chart is updated, which I think is an important one to flag. So you can now see the breakdown of where my money is being spent by area. So 47% of my money goes on bills, 10% is currently going on debt, which is good. That number's come down quite a lot in the last few months. 22% is going towards savings and investments, 13% is being spent on myself, and then I've got 7.4% left over. So really I want that leftover number to be more about 5%. So I might look just to take a little bit of that money and put it into a couple of these other areas. Probably the area of focus actually is I might pay a little bit more towards my debt to try and get my debt payments down. And then, as I say, we've got my debt tracker there, which shows the percentage of debt I've paid off. We know that I've actually paid an extra £100 off of the debt. So that pulls through into here. So that drops that debt, as you can see, to 1314. That's how much debt I've got left to pay. And 4576 is how much has been paid off. And then if we go down here a little bit further, you see you've got the tracker for my emergency fund, pension and investments total. I'll cover this in more detail on that savings and investments video, and then a net worth tracker at the bottom, which is just a sort of vanity / target thing that just helps me stay in control of how much what my net worth is and where my money's being spent. So that's my budget overview and budget tracker. The only other thing to do is just to highlight on my pots and savings goals for 2026 tab. So I've got a few things that I want to start saving money towards this year and build money into, which I'll be able to pump lots of money into once I've finished paying my debt payments. But the two that you will have pulled from my budget tracker were that I was putting money, £40 into Christmas and my wife's birthday, to make sure I've got that money tracking ready to be able to pay for those things when they come up. So I've put £20 into Christmas there, as you can see, in March, because that's half of that money. And then I've also added £20 as well down into the birthday section down there. But yeah, other than that, that's pretty much it. That's an overview of exactly how my budget tracker works, where my money goes to, and how I'm splitting it up. Okay, so there you have it. That is how I split my monthly £3,000 a month salary up, and how I'm splitting it for the month of March, spreading it across all of the core areas of my life, such as fixed costs, savings and investments, debt payments, and also spending money on myself. Hopefully you found that video really useful, and in there you found some useful tips that will help you with your budget and help you manage your budget better to help stretch your money as far as possible. I'm always really keen to hear feedback and comments about this budget spreadsheet, if people think it's useful and things like that. So please do drop any of that down in the comments. There were a couple of people that off the back of the last video asked whether I'll be selling this spreadsheet. I'm working at the moment on just a few formatting bits that I want to iron out for it, and then yes, I will be looking to add this spreadsheet as an option for people to be able to purchase. I'll probably do it really cheaply through Etsy, because yeah, people seem to like the formatting of it, which is great news. Great to have that feedback. So thank you for everyone that's fed back and said you like the spreadsheet. So yeah, watch this space on that. I'll hopefully get that done in the next few weeks or so, and I'll make sure I do a video on when that's live on exactly how to best make use of this spreadsheet. But other than that, that's really it for me for this video. All that's left for me to say is thank you very much for watching it, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next one.